Hello and welcome to the latest Capital and Kayfabe. I am your co-host, JP Jampaz from the Two Man Power Trip. Of course, joining me is the political pundit, the author, the journalist, the former campaign manager, Mr. Jack Hunter. Jack, welcome in. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Glad to talk to you today. Excited about it.
Got to start off hot right here, and it's a topic that affects wrestling and politics and kind of everything in between. Priscilla Kelly, obviously, she was Gigi Dolan in NXT. She was a longtime contracted star there. She, of course, is very hot on the independents. A lot of people are wanting to book her, and even I guess it's called IPWA. It's an Israel promotion that's bringing over, some pretty big names, and obviously there's been pretty big names over the years that have gone to Israel and had wrestling shows. I mean, it's very popular over there for whatever reason. It's very popular over here too. So no, nothing bad as far as that. But she's very excited that she's taking this booking. She promotes it on X on Twitter that she's going to be going to Israel for it. She's all excited. Then all of a sudden she gets a ton of backlash. Can't believe you're going over there. People turning into a political thing. Then she cancels the booking. Now she cancels the bookings. Then she gets heat for canceling the bookings. And then she just outright just deletes her X account because she couldn't handle the scrutiny. But both sides got her. They attacked there. She was excited to go to Israel, then not excited to go, then the scrutiny, and then boom, she's gone. What do you think about this? This is a kind of a whirlwind.
I feel sorry for Priscilla Kelly. I don't know her politics. I guess they're beside the point for what I'm about to say. I wish she would have kept the booking. And I say that as somebody who's a harsh critic of Israel's government and what they're doing in Gaza. I straight up call it a genocide. It's what they're doing. It's horrible. It will be remembered by history as such. But I think she should have kept the booking. Look, whoever runs this indie promotion in Israel, we don't know their politics either. You will find robust debate in the state of Israel about Netanyahu and what the government's doing. A lot of people don't like it. They agree with me as an American. I'm talking about Israelis, Jewish people, don't like what they're doing. I don't know the politics of this promoter, but to my point is we can't live our lives. She's an independent wrestler trying to make money and promote herself. You can't. It depends. I mean, she can't make professional decisions her whole life traveling abroad based on international politics. Should the Von Erichs have been popular in Israel in the 80s? Because they sure as hell were, because there were some things going on then that weren't necessarily, on the up and up. Not like what's going on now, but you see what I'm getting at. And, when WWE goes to Saudi Arabia, I wrote a piece 10 years ago for the American Conservative applauding them for that. Now, is that an endorsement of the Saudi regime who murdered a reporter, among other atrocities, and, hurting people in Yemen with our tax dollars? No, but it was what I saw culturally. The first time WWE went, women couldn't even be there at the event, right? And then the next time they could be there with a chaperone, but they couldn't drive. And then the next time they could drive there. And now we're having a women's Royal Rumble coming up soon. Do you see what I'm getting? There was a progression. And, I very open to my friend Glenn Jacobs. I don't think he'd be mad if I said this, but he would do the meet and greets and stuff over there. And he said people would come up to him and be like, please keep coming. Things keep getting better. So these people might not like the regime either. They probably don't, but can't say it because they're not in a free country. But you see what I'm saying? I think I've always believed in no war, trade and friendship with countries, even if they're terrible countries, and maybe improve them by introducing. After Vietnam, we didn't shut off relations with Vietnam. We traded with them, and now it's a free market capitalistic country that's in a lot better position than when we were at war there, if you see what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. Saudi Arabia is a terrible regime, but to the degree that there can be Western influence, whether that's WWE or anything else, I think that's a good thing. Priscilla Kelly is probably not as political as my crazy ass is, and wasn't thinking about all these things and just saw the online backlash and acted accordingly. If I was advising her, not that I should be advising anybody, I'd be like, keep the booking, ignore the noise, and go make some money. That's what she should have done. Do you have any thoughts on it, John?
I was thinking the same thing by kind of basically announcing it. That's one thing, because you announce every promotion that you're going to, whether it's in Salt Lake City, Utah, New York City, wherever it is. So that's what I thought she was doing, not politicizing where she was being booked. I think that didn't even cross my mind. It's like, oh wow, she's going to Israel. Like, she promotes every show that she's like, I'm in Jacksonville, Florida tonight. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't come off to me as political. And the people who thought it was political, I think, are nuts for thinking that she was making it political. She was
Yes.
just announcing where she was booking. She doesn't care. She's getting paid. What does she care where she's wrestling?
That, and it's a vocal minority online, and it's not
Mhm.
the fans that are going to go to the show. It's going to be fine. When AEW started, they had that Chinese wrestling outfit. I don't remember what it was called, but were they supporting communism by, like, what are we talking about here? Like, let's find a more extreme example of that. When the Sun City apartheid debate with South Africa was going on in the 80s, if you know what I'm talking about, we ain't going to play Sun City, Johnny Van's or Little Steven and all that, put that song together. Queen played Sun City during that time. And Freddie Mercury's thing is, we're not a political band. Now, as a fan of Queen, you could, not like that, not go see their shows or whatever, but I don't think Queen was being pro-apartheid. As horrible as apartheid was, they weren't being anti-Nelson Mandela. Do you see what I'm getting at? Mm-hmm. And I'm a political person, and I would think about the politics of these things, but I'm sorry. I think Priscilla Kelly should have kept that booking, and I'm not mad at Queen for doing that in the 80s, even though the situation was terrible.
Crazy thing, too, just to throw it out there, Kevin Von Erich is booked on the same show that Priscilla was booked on, so he's going back to Israel.
Of course. I learned that later in life, how popular the Von Erichs were in Israel in the 80s, and they'd go over there and make money. I think that's very cool, actually. That this Texas promotion that was huge in Texas, in the region, and in the country to a degree, wound up on ESPN, was popular internationally in that way. I think that's neat.
Isn't that crazy? Like, just how that could be possible. But obviously, they were broadcast over there, so very, very cool in a way.
Yeah, I have a friend who's in the band Saigon Kick from the early 90s, if you remember them, or any of the viewers remember them. They were a hard rock band. Where did he say? It's like Tunisia or somewhere. Like, they go there and they're like mobbed, like it's Beatlemania, but then they get home and nobody knows who they are.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, well, they can play shows and stuff, but it's not like that. But there's this one country where it's like Hasselhoff in Germany or something. That's a little
bit. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. That was the Von Erichs in Israel in the 80s and 90s, I guess.
Man, so with that, obviously, there's kind of a political minefield online. So she leaves online, and that's that. Another thing that I think is funny, too, with just the online wrestling community, obviously, that wasn't necessarily the wrestling community, although that's definitely a part of it. That's more like the political nuts that are on the social media accounts. So Drew McIntyre wins the WWE title. He wins 3 stages of Hell on SmackDown. Great match. I love that there was no commercials, too, because it made it even better that there's no commercial breaks and he's just wrestling straight through. Awesome surprise to Jacob Fatu. Great surprise that Drew ends up winning the title. Then he goes home to Scotland. He's a champion. It's great. So I'm like, okay, this is great. Now people will complain because they're all complaining that, Cody shouldn't be champion. He beat Drew 100 times. So Drew wins. There's going to be no complaints. Well, yep. They start complaining that, what now? Now what is he going to do that he's champion? He was champion for 1 minute and they were already complaining. I was just like, man, these fans, they just can't. I don't know. I guess that's just what it is. They just can't not complain.
Yeah, and I'm glad Drew won. And I'm just like with FTR, who I think should be world champions for the rest of their lives because they're that awesome. I'm the same way with Cody. He's my favorite. Yeah. But part of that is he's got to lose it sometimes to win it back. Drew winning it was great. It was great for Drew. It's great for the fans. It was a break from Cody. The reports I read is that Cody wanted it too. What they do with it, we don't know. And that's the exciting part, upset fans. When do you get that in wrestling where things are unpredictable and we don't know what's going to happen? I like that.
Yes.
Let me give a quick plug along that line for the main event of Dynamite last night. This would have been a couple days when you're watching this later. MJF versus Bandito. Predictable that MJF was not going to lose the AEW Men's World Heavyweight Championship to Bandito, correct? That's a safe assumption, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Hell of a match. I recommend everybody go watch it because I'm watching it and I still in the back of my mind, I'm like, MJF's winning, but they had me thinking the opposite for a little bit and the match was incredible. So you want surprises and unpredictability, Drew winning and all that in wrestling. The more they can pull that off in the age of the internet and all the news sites and whatnot, in social media, all the better.
I love that match. And for some reason, I don't know if MJF, maybe I don't know or should know. I don't know if he's Spanish or what, but he's great against these luchadors. I mean, I had the Mystico match last year from CMLL. I absolutely love it. One of my favorite matches the whole year. If anybody can get their hands on it, I actually had to watch it on TikTok. Somebody had the whole match on TikTok. So I was like, this is awesome. But what a great match. And I was like, man, I expected no less from him and Bandito, and they tore it up. So he has awesome chemistry with luchadors.
100%. I was telling my girlfriend as we were watching it last night, I don't think of MJF as a guy who mixes it up with luchadors. Like, that's just not his thing.
Yeah.
And damn it, he did it with Mystico, as you just mentioned, and with Bandito. They're still wrestling their style, and it's fantastic. Anything you give MJF, he could, the proverbial broomstick kind of thing with flair, people used to say. He's that kind of wrestler. He can make it all turn to gold.
To me, and even the match on Dynamite against Mystico for MJF. So to me, he's hitting a home run with this. So far with where he's going to be as far as this title run. Because I was kind of wondering, is he going to wrestle more often? Because that one time when he was champion, he kind of was. He was not wrestling really as much. It was kind of like, what the hell? So now maybe he's going to be doing this fighting champion thing. I like it.
Yeah, the typical heel thing is you have the belt, you hardly ever, wrestle. I will say, if you watch that MJF Bandito match, and I not only love the match, I love what he did afterwards, and I'll leave it at that. It's really cool.
Yes. Yep. Hey, he put him over,
he did, and then he did something else. But the way he combined the two, I'm like, hot damn, this is awesome. I smile from ear to ear.
When you're looking at it too, it's like, oh, is he turning babyface? Like, nah, right. I don't think so. Yeah, that was good. That was well done. Obviously, sets up next feud too.
Yeah, and Bandito's the Ring of Honor World Champion, I think, right? He still has that. Mm-hmm. And he put him over in a big way and still kept his heel-ness. I loved it. He's one of the people that knows how to do that. So,
with AEW, just sticking on them for a second, rumor is they may have lost Powerhouse Hobbs. His contract just ended, as we're talking, basically last night. Man, do you think that's a big loss, or what are you thinking about this? Because it could be WWE bound, it could be NXT bound. I don't know either or. I'm reading that he could, or even hearing from you, he could go straight to SmackDown, straight to WWE. What do you think about the loss of Powerhouse Hobbs?
The last report I read from the credible source that I trust in and have never steered me wrong was that the contract's up and he could be in WWE programming as soon as SmackDown tomorrow when we're recording this. This will have come out later. I don't think it's a major loss for AEW because they never really did with him things that they potentially could have to make him in the mix where he's the big draw, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. I think WWE, it's kind of the opposite of Swerve. Swerve never really was the big draw in WWE. Now he's the top guy in AEW. So do that in reverse. When I think about Will Hobbs in WWE, I'm thinking about Obafemi, who's about to hit the main roster. I'm thinking about Brock Lesnar existing and doing good things for either of those men. I'm just thinking of these giants in WWE, two young guys like Hobbs and Obafemi, and then a guy like Brock. I'm probably missing some people in there. I mean, Randy Orton's not exactly small, but you know what I'm saying. I think it's a good move. I'm excited to see it as a fan. I'm excited for him professionally.
Could be a big loss. We'll see. I feel like he is more of a WWE type to me than an AEW type. That I think that's undeniable as far as Hobbs.
When I say if Kenny Omega or Ospreay went to WWE, to me that's a big loss because of where they've been positioned in AEW. I don't think Hobbs was ever positioned like that. Is it a loss? Of course it is, because he's a real talent. He's somebody that another person that I tune in for. But that's all I mean by that.
So AEW loses Hobbs, prospectively. We think they lost Jericho. We don't know yet because they're both still on the roster page, so we don't know officially that they're gone. Although it's been reported, and we obviously believe these reports, that Hobbs is probably gone and Jericho is probably on his way to WWE.
Right.
Interesting to note, though. AEW does not stop signing guys. They signed 9 more wrestlers. So obviously we talked about Jake Doyle, aka Jake something last week. We talked about Andrade finally being able to sign last week. They add Persephone, who's the CML female wrestler.
Right.
They added Mascara Dorada, obviously CMLL wrestler, very good. Hechicero, they added another great CMLL wrestler. So CMLL, this relationship, much like the New Japan relationship, ends up in them losing a lot of their top stars, which kind of stinks. Good for AEW, bad for CMLL, and obviously bad for New Japan when they lost their guys. And then right at the cusp of the TNA on AMC debut, the Rascals are now signed to AEW. So that's 4 guys there, plus the 2 luchadors, plus Persephone, plus Doyle, plus Andrade. 9 guys signed basically within a week. Pretty crazy. That's a lot.
I love it. I think it's cool. The Rascals and TNA were interesting and we're over. I'm going to love to see what they do in an AEW environment. My understanding is they threw so much money at them, like, yeah, we're going. And, if you're in TNA, you eventually want to be in WWE or AEW, right? Like, that's a thought, or not. I don't know. Maybe you're comfortable there.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, they're young
Especially
guys.
With more money.
Yeah, especially if there's no money, there's no arguing with that. The signing of the former Jake something, Doyle, we talked about this a little bit before we started the show. Doyle and Davis and them hot-shotting them in that four-way on Dynamite where they're the number one tag team contenders to FTR now. That's two heel teams. What do you do with that? I don't know. But I really like these two big men who I wasn't paying a hell of a lot of attention to Mark Davis before this. I was like, oh, that's the guy who was with Ospreay and Fletcher, and look at what they're doing. Look at what he's doing, right? And Jake something, I couldn't get around the name in TNA. I'm like, this guy looks like $1 million, but his name's Jake something. And I just, it overshadowed what he is. Doyle and Davis, number one contenders as a tag team in AEW. I'm all about it. I want to see it. I'm excited about it. And I think it's cool they got hot-shotted in that way. We'll see what they do next.
The heels versus heels. So we'll see what happens with that. That's an interesting direction to go in, but that's a lot of guys. And obviously a lot of people are kind of pointing this out. That's immediately what I thought of. TNA is debuting AMC, new network. If they're trying to get bigger, they're trying to expand. What would Vince McMahon do? I'd sign a bunch of their top guys that are free agents, and that's what Tony Khan did. So kudos to him for signing it, and good for those guys. But obviously, I think they would have been a big part of TNA on AMC.
I do too, and I'm really excited as we speak that the debut on AMC will be tonight. I'm excited what that looks like. Excited to see AJ Styles on there. I know he did Slammiversary or whatever a while back, just did a promo. But and Santana better damn well win this belt from Frankie Kazarian tonight. I've had a lot of criticism of how they got there, but that's what needs to happen, in my opinion. You might disagree. I don't know.
That's one of those kind of things where I don't know if they'll pull the lever on it, but man, it almost feels like should he have lost to begin with? But now you have this big, but right, probably not. But now you have this big show you're building up with, and it's like, okay, now he should win it because this is the big show. It would make a real big impact to have him retain the title or win back the title on this big show. So maybe it all kind of makes sense in the end. But hopefully, we'll see though.
And what do you do if you're booking this? So this is pure speculation. Didn't read this anywhere. Genesis is on Saturday. That's their big pay-per-view. You got to pay $40 for, right? It's not just the TNA Plus one. AJ is going to be on the show tonight on the debut. Should he say whoever wins between Kazarian and Mike Santana, I'm going to fight you in Genesis and win back my TNA title, and then lose to Mike Santana and put him over in a big way? That's what I would do if I was booking it.
I don't know if WWE will let him do TNA. It seems like they're just letting him do appearances, not letting him wrestle.
Maybe.
So that's what I'm wondering, if they're going to let him wrestle there.
That might be a restriction, but if you want to do TNA a solid in this arrangement and how Mike Santana so sloppily got to this point, I think that'd put him right back where he needs to be in a big way. But you're right. It's 60-40 with them between TNA and WWE, and maybe that's a little bit too much to ask.
So are you going to be watching the TNA on AMC debut? Basically, as we're recording, it's going to be not that far from us.
Yes, and I was saying last night, I'm kind of excited to watch a wrestling show that starts at 9 again. Remember when Raw used to be from 9 to 11?
Yep,
we ain't had that in a long time. That's kind of cool. My girlfriend works in F&B and is at home right at 8 sometimes, so that's kind of convenient too, because it's always best to watch it live.
What do you think, though? Is it going to be up to snuff? Is this going to be maybe starting a new trend where you're going to be watching every Thursday night?
I watch most Thursday nights as is, especially since the relationship with NXT and WWE and all that. I think it's made it a lot more exciting. I know some of the talent, TNA and others, have criticized behind the scenes, but as a fan, I like the crossover. It's cool. I don't agree with everything they do, but it's neat. I liked when they did the partnership with AEW during COVID. It was just something different when Kenny Omega was the TNA champion. I'll be watching it. I'm excited about it. Longtime AJ Styles fan. I want to see that. I'm a huge Tessa Blanchard fan. She's one of my top women's wrestlers. And in my mind, she should be fighting against Charlotte Flair or something like that right now. So that's not coming anytime soon, if ever. But I'm excited for the company. I followed them. What was those $5 or $10 pay-per-views on Wednesday nights when they started? You ordered those too.
$10. Yeah.
I ordered every single one of those. I remember Nikita Koloff and Dusty Rhodes and Rock and Roll Express popping up on some of those because they knew Jeff Jarrett or however that worked. But here we are in 2025, and they're debuting on AMC, their biggest platform. I think this is bigger than when they were on Spike, right?
I would assume so, because I was talking to Frank Kazarian about that. I was like, this could be, the biggest platform you guys ever had. He was saying comparable to Spike, but it might be more so than Spike to a certain degree.
I think it might be, because people might forget Spike was the Nashville network turned the national network turned Spike. Mm-hmm. And it was big. Like our cable systems had it, but AMC seems a lot bigger. I mean, this is the channel that has The Walking Dead and Breaking Bad. So,
If you look at the just sheer number of great shows that were on that network, it's insane. Better Call Saul, Breaking Bad, Mad Men, Walking Dead, even now Dark Winds is a great show. I mean, that network is like, they hit home run after home run on great TV shows.
Yeah, it's exciting as a wrestling fan. I love to see all companies flourish, and it's going to be good for TNA, I think.
So obviously you got Raw on Mondays, you got NXT Tuesdays, Wednesday you got Dynamite, Thursday you got TNA and NBC on AMC, Friday obviously is SmackDown, Saturday is Collision. A lot of wrestling. There is a lot to watch, a lot of big time wrestling to watch.
It's funny. There is a lot of wrestling, and my girlfriend and I watch all of it. We are a wrestling household. But on the night where there's not something, we're like, damn, what are we going to do? I guess we'll find a movie, and we find something, but like we really wish there was wrestling on. So I don't know if that means there's something wrong with us, but like that happens from time to this past Sunday. There wasn't a show. We watched a movie. It was good, but like we watched Landman. We like that show, but like,
great show. Yeah.
We want to watch wrestling.
Yes.
So.
Yes. Are you finding it a little controversial? Because they keep posting, people keep posting videos online. I love it. And I love the daughter on that show. Obviously, I think, every red-blooded American male probably loves the daughter on that show. But a lot of the stuff that she was saying about, like, I don't get these pronouns. Like, a lot of people were, like, cracking up. And they were loving some of that stuff. She doesn't get the pronouns, doesn't get this. She doesn't understand people.
I absolutely loved it. And that's just another indicator how much we're on the other side of this woke nonsense.
Yeah. Yep.
Because the heel in that was the a-hole roommate, the stereotypical, I'm non-binary, they, them, rude to everybody, like does not live in the real world remotely, doesn't want anything to do with the real world. And then the spoiled, gorgeous cheerleader daughter, who's her own kind of stereotype, but she's just like wanting to have fun and hang out with her friends and do things that American girls her age do. And it's getting trampled on by this heel roommate who sucked.
Right.
And I have a very lefty friend who shall remain nameless that when Landman came out was like, this is the most anti-female misogynist show I've ever seen. I was trying to figure out what the hell she was talking about. She's talking about the mom and the daughter.
Right.
Stereotypical, materialistic.
But they're just two characters on the show where it has many.
Right. It's characters who one of the most badass people on the show is that woman lawyer who Billy Bob Thornton taps every time there's more than his long established male, lawyer. He's like, no, we need the bulldog. We need her. So it's both. So, a left brain person would only see that. I don't think they're trying to make political points, except in that episode. It was just one episode making the point that the bad guy in this is the unrealistic pronoun person. And that's how most Americans see it. I checked. I was like, Kamala Harris used to do this dumb crap. And I checked. She still has them. It says they, or he, she, her, or whatever. I wonder if she took that down when she was running for president. Like, crazy. That's not a plus for regular voters, even if you're a Democrat. That's just crazy town.
The thing is, too, like when people say that, well, what about all the other characters on the show? It's a show with many characters, many layers, like when people rip on South Park, even from the right, ripping South Park, they're making fun of Trump. Well, what about PC Principal and like these other characters that are so right wing and making fun of the left? And Cartman is like the perfect. All he does is make fun of the left. So there's each character to their own. Obviously, Kyle is more lefty, Cartman's more righty. Like so, each character is to its own. It's not the show; it's the character on the show that is poking fun. So you got to take it with a grain of salt with these people here.
They make fun of everybody. You're right across the board, and the shows also fit for whatever era we're living in, whether it's the Obama administration or Trump or whatever. And they entertain accordingly. Matt Parker and Trey Stone. I don't know if you remember that book, South Park Conservatives, about 15 or 20 years ago that came out. And it was just about, the cultural context of that show when it was fairly new and what it meant politically. And Parker and Stone said, we're not conservatives. We just effing hate liberals. They go, we don't know what that is, but here's our show. I understood where they were coming from. So great show.
Man, speaking of maybe some people not liking some liberals, what about Trump giving that Ford employee the middle finger? What do you think about that? That was crazy.
The guy said you protect pedos or something like that.
Yeah. Yep.
When Trump's out there talking to regular people, he's going to get some of that. There's a lot of regular working class people who, lo and behold, do not like pedophiles, even if they're famous and rich and well connected. And
yeah,
that's going to be a thing that comes up in the midterms, depending on the Republican or, like what's the holdup? You guys voted to release these files. President Trump, you signed that legislation, and here we are. So, and Trump reacted how he did. Well, that might be another iconic photo in the history of Trump, along with mugshots and other things.
Yeah. What about Clinton not wanting to be interviewed about it? Isn't that kind of like odd? Wouldn't you be like, okay, I'll be interviewed and I'm not guilty? Or is it playing the, oh, this is so silly, I'm not even going in? But then what's he talking about presidential immunity for? What the hell's going on with Clinton?
What's the benefit of Bill Clinton talking about that publicly?
I have no idea.
I don't think there's any. I think it's all no pros and all cons, and he's just not going to do it, not going to give a long answer about it. I mean, Jeffrey Epstein had a painting of Bill Clinton in a dress on his house, whatever the hell that was all about. They were tight. He was on that plane a bunch of time. We know that he likes younger women or girls with Monica Lewinsky, who was like 21 or 20.
Right.
So, I mean, people forget when he was the American Spectator, when he ran for president in the 90s, when he won the 92 election, American Spectator, which is a longtime conservative magazine, did these investigations. I remember Rush Limbaugh used to talk about this. The Arkansas state troopers would take Governor Clinton to colleges, and they'd like troll the colleges, talking to chicks and stuff. Him talking to college girls. So, like,
oh boy,
doing that openly as governor. And that, that was a little pre-internet, or then that was so new, but like, who knows what happened with Jeffrey Epstein and all that. But if you're using local law enforcement or state law enforcement to go pick up chicks and you're the governor, who knows what he's doing? And you certainly don't want to talk about it now.
Now, Trump had negative net migration for the first time in 50 years. What does that even mean? What is that?
Well, most of the migration we were having was illegal. And those people are being encountered or stopped or turned around, lots of deportations. And a lot of people who in years past would have thought about doing that aren't. I think immigration is good for the country. I think our immigration system is messed up, and I understand why so many people come here illegally. That's not an excuse for human trafficking or drug trafficking or anything like that. I'm talking about, I'm poor, I have a family, I live in Mexico, and I can make money if I cross that border and go do some agricultural work. That's what I'm talking about. I wish we had a system where it's easier for people to do that. We need those jobs. They need the work, but our system's messed up. I agree with Donald Trump enforcing, we have to have borders. We can't have a wide open border like we have with Biden. But immigration in general is good for the United States and has been our entire history. So net migration, I don't know. That sounds bad on paper, but it sounds a hell of a lot better than open borders and just millions coming in. We don't know who's coming. So.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, crazy. And I was talking to somebody's Mexican American, saying that they were getting heat for kind of supporting this effort. Like, you're Mexican, how could you support it? Because they want, like the proper channels. They want the correct way to come in. They don't want criminals coming in. You know what I mean? They want it nice and clean. Because imagine if you live in like a border city and you're having to deal with that stuff. That would be horrible. Whether you're Mexican or American, you're having to deal with that. It's horrible.
And that's a white lefty thing to assume that Latino Americans or Latino visitors just are fine with illegal immigration, all this.
Yeah,
they're not at all, especially if they live in a border town, what you just said. And the ones who came here legally, they're like, hell no, I had to go jump all these hurdles and do all this stuff to get here. And I would add to that, if you poll the African-American community, Black Americans, they're way more against illegal immigration than if you were just polling white Americans. So, like, there's a lot of nuance there amongst minority groups, racial minority groups, in that issue that lefties just think like, oh, I'm a white lefty and all the minorities agree with me. No, you go be on that Landman episode with the roommate.
Yeah.
That's not the real world. That's not what's going on.
So, of course, with that comes ICE and all these anti-ICE protests. I mean, it's almost too much. Like, these people, it's just too much with like the protesting them and then trying to kind of basically not only evade the law, but like circumvent the law and then kind of attack them and try to get in their way. And obviously the Renee Good situation, they try to get in the way, and it ended very, very badly. The guy, the ICE officer, internal bleeding, they showed a different camera angle, got him pretty good. I mean, which is funny that some of the media, which is pretty shameful. They never even played that part of the video. They try to edit that part off and say, oh, he just shot her. He actually had internal bleeding. So, I mean, she must have gotten him pretty good with the car. It looked like a nice little shot there, to the rib cage area, if you will, to the stomach area. Maybe it didn't need to end the way it did, of course, but then you got the left trying to say she was a hero and all this other stuff. So, like, the left takes it way too far left and the right takes it way too far right. Obviously, there's somewhere in the middle where they could have maybe handled a different way, but obviously you hit a federal employee. Obviously, jail time would be kind of where I would be leaning if
Right.
that was me.
Or at least charged with something. I can see
Yes.
both ways, and you're right about right and left. To me, it looked like even if she hit him, she was turning away and trying not to do that and was frazzled. Rand Paul was on Joe Rogan, was asked this point blank, and I liked his answer. He's like, I'm not the judge. I wasn't there. I'm not going to come down hard on either side. And I tend to agree with that. I think people who are making a hero out of this woman are short-sighted. Like, what? No, I kind of feel sorry for her. Wrong place at wrong time. People acting like these police officers, these ICE officers, weren't hyper aggressive in ways that you don't see in normal policing. They were hyper aggressive. Like, that was kind of weird too. Joe Rogan made the point that, we need border enforcement. We need an organization like ICE, but like if you're a citizen and regular law enforcement arrests you, you could say, what's your name and badge number? And they have to give it to you. ICE doesn't have to do that. So you see what I'm saying? There's nuances to all of this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to jump in there and be like, oh, we need open borders and no border patrol and no ICE. And no, we do need those things, but how they behave and the license they're given and how far they can go is part of this debate too. And that looked a little aggressive to me. I wasn't there. If I thought somebody was trying to run me over, God knows what I would have done. If she was just trying to get away and not run them over, but that's what it's just too much nuance to come down hard on either side.
I forget who said it, but they basically said that Biden and Kamala were so bad with the border and this stuff, you almost have to go 180 completely the other way, which obviously ICE is, to complete that up and get it back to some semblance of normalcy. Like, that's how bad it was. So they're saying if you want to blame anybody for Renee Good, this and that, you got to blame Biden and Kamala. The borders are Kamala. I mean, they were despicably bad. And my buddy sent me a video of Biden before. I felt bad. I was cracking up. Jesus, like, what is going on with this guy? Like, is he even like still mentally there? Oh, geez, what is going on? But they're to blame, big time.
They are to blame. It was so bad, and so many Americans. I don't care if you're right, left, Republican, Democrat. We're tired of it. And depending, especially where you live, border towns, and other places too. You're just overrun with no hope in sight. And Latino Americans, especially, are like, no. We know where we came from. We don't know. We came to America for a reason. There's a lot of that sentiment in Black Americans and so on. Yep. Biden paid no attention to any of that. He let it be wide open. I think some of the people that broke into the country would be like, oh, Biden's president, we can do what we want, and then got mad at Trump later. I have a lot of problems with I hate that some American citizens were picked up at Target and then later let go somewhere because they didn't realize they were citizens. Like, that's wrong. That's abuse. And it shouldn't happen, but I'm not surprised that the pendulum swung so far in that direction, because in the other direction, it was just as bad in other ways. So,
yep, for sure. Speaking of Minnesota, it seems like they're the hotbed of fraud right now. But as you're reading and seeing, they're saying that's just like the tip of the iceberg. They said, wait till they look at California, wait till they look at New York and stuff like that. Right now, though, and as the phrase goes, the useful idiot himself, Tim Walz, is kind of the front and center of this, and he just makes it worse every time he talks. It's like, does he not have like a handler or somebody like a PR person that's like, Tim, like, don't say this, or let's get a speechwriter? He every time he talks, he just makes it worse and worse. And I love that phrase, useful idiot, but I hate to say that, but it seems like he kind of is.
He's a buffoon. It's
holy moly.
Shame he's in leadership in that state, governor. I do think what's going on in Minnesota and the fraud, and it is the tip of the iceberg. The more they dig, the worse it gets. You're going to see a bigger version of that in California eventually. I think there's probably a lot of nervous people in both states and other places too. We're focusing on Minnesota because we do know about the fraud. We do know there's more. We do know a lot of it's involved with the Somali immigrant community there. We do know that Democrats run the state from the governor. That's Omar's district, Representative Ilhan Omar, who's of Somali background, I believe. So you combine all that and it becomes a Democratic symbol of fraud. and Republicans are going to run with that, and should run with that because it's wrong and highlight it. That's not to say there's not examples of Republican fraud in places, because there are.
Of course.
But
Of course.
if we find them, we'll talk about that. This is what we're looking at now.
The thing is, too, it's like, man, I feel like not that Nick Shirley isn't doing a great job and really exposing some of the stuff, but I wonder who kind of led him in that direction. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Who tipped him off?
Yeah, like who tipped him off? Now he's finding even more fraud and more stuff. It almost feels like somebody knew something and we're like, oh man, I can expose this. I'm going to, give this guy some info and let's see what he does with it. I mean, great journalism by him. Way better than the mainstream media, way better than, a lot of other people we've seen. But I'm just curious, like, who tipped him off? Because then he gets tipped off, right? And then you go on X. Thank God there's X, by the way, because you get actual, like,
right,
you wouldn't see anywhere else. But then you see Trump and Elon and stuff boost his stuff too. So you're like, oh my God, he's getting like millions and millions of views. You see retweets by Musk and retweets and like stuff. So I don't know if that's ever been thought of or people really talking about it, but like, do you think maybe he's been tipped off by somebody, like up there, that knew about it and was like, you know what, it's time to end this?
It could be his hard gumshoe journalism and he just went out there and found it, but you're probably more, it could be the local GOP, John. Like, we know these Democrats are doing that. We want to put them in the dirt. Hey, dude, check this out. It could be something. My controversy in 2013 was from a rival presidential campaign to Rand Paul. And I know who it is. I'm not going to say, but I've been told by more than one source who I trust what it is. So it could be something like that with Shirley. It's likely, is what I would say.
It's interesting though, like with Newsom and stuff too, because they're saying his fraud is like way worse than Walsh. They're saying like maybe 3 times as bad, like they're intimating that about him. But it's interesting the way that these guys react. It's almost like they go so like, what are you talking about? They get so angry. It's like, what are you hiding? Like, it's almost very obvious. Maybe that's just me being like paranoid thinking or something, but man, like when he starts acting like that, I'm like, oh God, he's hiding something. Walls too. It's like, oh God, this guy, I mean, what else is he hiding? So Newsom, same thing. And I know Hochul, they're saying that's going to come out about her too. So what are these guys hiding? These guys and gals.
It's that old saying, doth protest too much. What are you so defensive about? What are you hiding, as you just mentioned? And state like California, a guy like Gavin Newsom, throw Hochul in there. I don't want to see, because it's going to be terrible. And as much as we laugh and pick at California, I don't want anybody to be suffering or have to deal with this crap, but like, it's not going to be good. That's a corrupt state that so many people with the means are leaving for a reason. When Joe Rogan moved to Austin, Texas from California, he's like, I want to live in a state where I can be more free. There's probably lots of different examples of why he said that, but I wouldn't want to live in California.
Hell no. And I was reading that a lot of the more affluent people will be leaving California.
Right. So Gavin Newsom's considered one of the top Democratic presidential prospects for 2028. We'll see what all that looks like come 2028 and what's going on in California.
Now, one final story, wrestling related, of course, because I just found this very interesting. And I kind of want to hopefully learn more about this and hopefully it develops more. But I'm reading just as far as social media metrics, YouTube, and even I guess how WWE maybe tracks the ratings on the show. I know they do overall views and things like that, but I guess when they're tracking, when people are tuning in, tuning out, when people are really into somebody's segment or not. And back in the day, well, really, they probably still haven't, but they had minute to minute. They had obviously quarter ratings and stuff. Do you know who right now they're saying is the most popular guy as far as metrics that their people are tuning in to see the most?
Is it Cody or is it somebody else? Or I don't know. Dominic Mysterio? I don't know.
No, and this is just the last couple of weeks. And obviously he was in a prominent position, but Bron Breakker has been the big, I was reading a big metric guy, and they were saying his fight, if you will, with Adam Pearce, where basically Pearce kind of pushed him and then he went nuts on him and he goes, I'm going to kill you. And then went nuts. They were saying basically like that was getting the most, tread, if you will, like getting and Breakker obviously last week was versus Punk, and you saw the ratings kind of really went up, partially to Punk, but you got to give Breakkers. So it's like, man, do they have something with him as a baby face? You know what I mean? As far as him.
What, now that you say that, is this sort of like a Stone Cold repeat kind of thing? Who was a guy who wasn't supposed to be the champion? He was supposed to be a top, like upper mid card heel, but just got over with that character, with the Stone Cold character, and eventually was the face of the company. Are we witnessing that kind of evolution right now? We don't know, but it feels like it. Bron Breaker's a heel right now. The Vision are heel, but people cheer him and they bark. They like the guy. That's not what you do to a heel. And if he's, according to the metrics and the ratings, one of the most popular guys, that segment with Adam Pearce was fantastic. It was the best thing on the entire show. And I didn't think the show was terrible, but it was the best thing. It just felt real and edgy and different. If that's what they're doing, I'm going to watch this stuff if it sucked, because I'm glutton for punishment and love wrestling, but I'm really excited to watch something like that and his rise, if that's what we're indeed watching. He's under 30. He's a Steiner. Yeah. Look at him. I think he too, for a casual fan, if you're tuning in to watch wrestling, and that's what you see, you're like, yep, wrestling, that dude,
And it also doesn't hurt that spear, especially him coming down the aisle.
Yeah.
And it had the drone camera follow him. I was like, wow, that's just like perfect as far as like wrestler does something awesome. Camera work, production, it all comes together as one. I was like, that was perfect. Cause
it was cool as hell.
The crowd goes nuts. They're like, whoa, holy crap. That was cool as shit. Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah. Maybe, Cody will very likely be champion again, and we see a Bron Breakker Cody feud, something like that. That'd be hot and top notch, right?
I'm down with that. I like that a lot. And the Pierce thing is cool because I didn't expect it. That was like different. Like, oh, he's going to suspend him. Okay. And then he just snaps and he's like, I'll kill you. And then Heyman Leo tells him a little secret about, to Pierce. He's like, by the way, he goes, you did touch him first, technically. He's like, oh shit. So that was different and cool because Pierce isn't a heel, but you're like, whoa, he's right. Pierce is in the wrong here.
Yeah. Now his performance was just as important as Bron Breakker in that. And Heyman saying you touched him first because he did.
Yep.
Like, you can't compare what he did to how Bron touched him back, but that's what happened. I'm really intrigued. I'm excited about it.
Breaker, they could break that streak of, guys under 37 or whatever it is. They haven't had a champion under 37 in like 10 years, whatever the number is. Basically, all like veterans have been champ. Breaker would be a perfect guy to break that mold and be champ. Maybe could have been even Monday night against Punk, but I see him being world champ, obviously, very, very soon.
I do too. I thought he was going to take it off Punk. He didn't, but they're getting there.
Steiner, if you will. Bron Breakker, a.k.a. Bronson Steiner, Rex Steiner, as he was once called. He's great. And I kind of do like that, a young guy is getting the metrics, if you will. Usually it's like, oh, when Lesnar showed up, he got all the social media, you know what I mean? Or like, oh, Punk's getting all and they're all quote unquote older guys. So it's good to see a young guy kind of breaking through.
Yeah, I like that. In AEW, I like, they're doing that with Kyle Fletcher and some others. But it's always good to see the young guys who have that it factor, who definitely have that star power. They're going to get there, but getting there. It's fun to watch the journey.
So let's wrap up this bad boy. Head towards the plugs. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at 2Man Power Trip. How about you, Jack?
You can find me on X at JackHunter74 for all my nonsense and then some.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you, everybody out there for listening. We'll see you right back here next week for a little Capital and Kayfabe. See you.